Talking about Foogiano, the Atlanta-based rapper whose real name is Kwame Brown is represented by Gucci Mane. Take a look. This is a booking photo just in. U.S. Marshals now say they tracked down
Gucci Mane really got his own artist caught up. Foogiano, the same dude Gucci, personally signed to 1,017 pushed-on albums and brought on stage. Just finished doing 5 years in federal prison. And the second he stepped outside those prison gates, the very first thing he did was switch his Instagram profile picture to Pooh Shiesty's mugshot. Not a new promo pic. Not a "I'm finally home" flyer. Pooh's mugshot. Sit with that for a second. Because before we go any deeper into this story, you need to understand one thing clearly. Foogiano came home and instantly made it obvious he is not siding with Gucci Mane. Not after what allegedly happened with Pooh Shiesty. Not after feeling like Gucci left him hanging while he sat behind bars for 5 years. The moment Foogiano touched the internet again, he started reposting anti-snitching messages without hesitation. Loud, direct, and public. And now people online keep asking the same question. Why is Foogiano turning against his own label boss? But honestly, that is the wrong question. The real question is this. What did Gucci Mane allegedly do that was so grimy that his own artist, fresh out after a 5-year federal sentence, came home choosing Pooh Shiesty's side instead of his? What happened inside 1,017 records that made Foogiano walk out of prison and immediately back the same man accused of putting a gun to Gucci's head? That answer is what this entire video is about. Because this is way bigger than rap beef. This is about snitching allegations, betrayal, loyalty, and a label boss who, according to the streets, the culture, and even people around him, crossed a line you cannot uncross. And if you think this is just internet drama, you are missing the bigger picture. Pooh Shiesty is currently sitting in federal detention facing life in prison. Foogiano just got home after doing 5 years. Meanwhile, Gucci Mane is back in the studio dropping diss records. Y'all really need to hear this whole situation. Let's get into it. To understand how everything got this messy, we gotta go back to Greensboro, Georgia. Small town south of Atlanta with barely over 3,000 people. That is where Kwame Khalil Brown was born on July 4th, 1993. The streets would later know him as Foogiano. Foogiano did not have an easy come-up. He was never one of those rappers who simply found a studio and stayed out the way. Back in 2013, he got arrested on burglary and robbery charges and was sentenced in 2014. He ended up serving 3 years before getting released. So before he ever professionally rapped a single verse, he already knew what prison felt like. He had already experienced the system firsthand. He paid dues most rappers only talk about in lyrics. Once he got out and started seriously pushing music, people immediately noticed the sound. Raw trap music, authentic energy, zero gimmicks. The type of music that sounds believable because the artist actually lived it. He dropped records consistently, and one song in particular, Molly Baby Mama, started catching major attention. The track gained enough buzz that DaBaby jumped on the remix. And that remix completely changed Foogiano's life. That was the moment the industry started paying attention, especially Gucci Mane. In 2020, Gucci officially signed Foogiano to 1,017 records. Biggest opportunity of his career at that point. Gucci was the OG, the Atlanta trap legend, one of the people who practically created the sound Foogiano grew up listening to. Reports say Foogiano was a longtime Gucci fan before ever meeting him. So this was more than business. It felt personal. Like your favorite rapper reaching out saying, "I believe in you." In November 2020, Foogiano released his debut album Gouda Baby under 1,017. It debuted at #1 on Billboard's Heatseekers albums chart. #1 right out the gate. Everything was moving fast. The momentum was real. 1,017 looked like they had a future star. But this is where the story starts getting darker. In September 2020, right in the middle of all that momentum, both Foogiano and Gucci Mane were named in a wrongful death lawsuit connected to a July shooting that allegedly left 2 people dead. Their names ended up tied to legal paperwork, and situations like that follow you everywhere, especially when your career is taking off. Then December 2020 happened. Foogiano got arrested again. Charge? Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Since he was already on parole from his earlier case, the situation became serious immediately. A judge gave him a $50,000 bond with simple conditions attached. Wear an ankle monitor. Stay inside Georgia. Do not move reckless. Pretty standard conditions. Foogiano agreed, paid bond, got released, then literally cut the ankle monitor off his leg and disappeared. Not metaphorically. Literally burned off the monitor and went on the run. For 3 full months, authorities could not find him until federal agents finally tracked him down in Memphis, Tennessee in March 2021. Memphis? Pooh Shiesty territory. Interesting detail. Then, in May 2021, Foogiano got sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. No bond. No escape route. Just like that, A career that had barely started a career sitting at number 1 was suddenly frozen.
Talking about Foogiano, the Atlanta-based rapper whose real name is Kwame Brown is represented by Gucci Mane. Take a look. This is a booking photo just in. U.S. Marshals now say they tracked down the 27-year-old in Memphis last week. They tell us they had been trying to find him for 3 months after he apparently melted off his court-ordered ankle monitor, and they tried to track him down there. At last check, Brown is now being held in a jail in Memphis. We've also learned he's part of an ongoing wrongful death lawsuit stemming from a fatal shooting that happened at a nightclub in South Carolina.
Now this is where things really start getting complicated, because Foogiano entered prison as Gucci Mane's artist, but he definitely did not come out feeling that same loyalty. While Foogiano was sitting behind bars for 5 years, the world kept spinning, and inside the 1017 camp, things slowly started falling apart in ways nobody expected. Before we continue, let's talk about Pooh Shiesty for a second, because his story runs directly alongside this entire situation and understanding that connection matters. Pooh Shiesty, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., is from Memphis, Tennessee. He signed with Gucci Mane's 1017 Records in April 2020, the same year Foogiano joined. They were basically label brothers coming up under Gucci at the exact same time, and Pooh Shiesty exploded fast. His hit single Back in Blood peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. He became an XXL freshman. Then he dropped his debut mixtape Shiesty Season in February 2021, and the project went crazy. But eventually, legal trouble caught up to him too. By April 2022, Pooh Shiesty was sentenced to 5 years over a firearms conspiracy case in Florida. He ended up serving around 3 years before getting released in October 2025 for good behavior.
And new at 6, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty is out of federal prison. Court records show the Memphis native, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., was released from a Pennsylvania facility after serving time for a gun charge in Florida. Williams was sentenced in 2022 to just over 5 years for conspiring to possess firearms tied to drug trafficking and violent crimes. His attorney confirmed the release, saying he's eager to return to the studio and make new music.
Now, really think about this timeline. Foogiano went in during 2021, Pooh Shiesty went in during 2022. Gucci Mane's 2 biggest artists both ended up locked up, and according to people close to Foogiano's side, Gucci allegedly did not support them the way a label boss is expected to support his artists when they are fighting federal time. Keep that in mind, because we are coming back to it. Then, October 2024 happened. Before any of the wild accusations started flying around Gucci, Mane publicly announced he was dropping almost his entire roster. Everybody got cut except 2 artists, Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano, 2 men who were both sitting in prison at the time. 2 artists who could not even publicly react to the decision. That move definitely raised eyebrows. You release everybody except the 2 rappers currently locked up and unable to say anything back. That move quietly set up everything that happened afterward. Pooh Shiesty got released in October 2025 and immediately dropped FTD as his comeback record. The song hit number 1 on Billboard's Hot R&B, Hip-Hop Songs and Hot Rap Songs charts. His comeback was working. The streets were supporting him heavy. Around that same time, rumors started spreading that Pooh Shiesty wanted out of his 1017 deal and was allegedly in talks with Collective Music Group, better known as CMG, owned by Yo Gotti. Apparently there was a major offer on the table that could completely shift his career. But one problem remained. His contract with 1017 was still active, and Gucci Mane reportedly was not interested in simply letting him leave. That is when everything allegedly spiraled out of control. January 10th, 2026. Dallas, Texas. Inside a music studio located in an office building. According to reports, Pooh Shiesty arranged what looked like a business meeting. The idea sounded simple enough. Sit down with Gucci Mane and discuss the terms of his contract. Gucci agreed and flew out to Dallas for the meeting. On the surface, it looked like regular business between 2 grown men. But according to federal prosecutors, that was not the real purpose of the meeting at all. The Department of Justice claims Pooh Shiesty arrived with a full crew. Prosecutors allege that Pooh Shiesty, his father Lontrell Williams Sr. fellow Memphis rapper Big 30, whose real name is Rodney Wright Jr., plus 6 other men all traveled from Memphis to Dallas together. 9 people total. And according to the complaint, they did not come there just to talk. Prosecutors also say Pooh Shiesty was still wearing an ankle monitor at the time because he remained on home confinement from his earlier firearms conviction. During the meeting, he allegedly received a call from his case manager informing him he did not have permission to be in Dallas and needed to immediately return home. Gucci reportedly offered to reschedule the meeting, but prosecutors claim Pooh Shiesty refused. Then everything allegedly went left. According to the criminal complaint, members of the group blocked the studio door, trapping Gucci Mane and 2 associates inside. Prosecutors allege Pooh Shiesty then pulled out an AK-style firearm and pointed it directly at Gucci, forcing him to sign paperwork, releasing him from his 2017 contract. Authorities also claim one of the co-conspirators recorded the entire incident on video. But it allegedly did not stop there. While Gucci was supposedly being held at gunpoint, prosecutors claim the group robbed him and his associates of jewelry, watches, cash, and personal items. A wedding ring, earrings, expensive jewelry, money, all allegedly taken. One of Gucci's associates was reportedly choked nearly unconscious during the altercation. Then things allegedly became even messier because some of the co-defendants started posting online afterward. Prosecutors say Terrence Rogers uploaded a video wearing a Rolex believed to have been taken during the robbery. Another defendant, DeMarcus Glover, allegedly posted photos online showing himself wearing jewelry connected to the victims. Federal investigators reportedly tied everything together through rental car records, surveillance footage, fingerprints, phone records, and location data from Pooh Shiesty's ankle monitor. The FBI built a serious case file. Then on April 2, 2026, almost 3 months after the alleged incident, the Department of Justice officially moved in. Pooh Shiesty, his father, Big 30 and 6 others were federally charged with kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Charges carrying a possible maximum sentence of life in prison. Life. Let that really sink in. And this is the exact moment when people online started connecting dots and throwing the word snitch around everywhere. On April 8, 2026, only days after the arrest, U.S. Magistrate Judge Renee Harris Tolliver ruled there was probable cause in the case. Pooh Shiesty was denied bond. The judge justified releasing him, pointing out that he had already been on home confinement and still allegedly traveled to Dallas without permission. But here's the part that really sent the internet into a frenzy. During the detention hearing, FBI Special Agent Pamela Hansen testified, and her testimony revealed something huge. At that point, the FBI had not even directly interviewed Gucci Mane or the other alleged victims yet. Those interviews were reportedly scheduled, but they had not officially happened. Meaning the original criminal complaint, the one that got Pooh Shiesty, his father, Big 30 and 6 others arrested, was built almost entirely without a direct statement from Gucci himself. Instead, prosecutors relied on surveillance footage, rental car records, cell phone data, ankle monitor tracking, fingerprints, and social media posts where some of the alleged co-defendants were supposedly flexing items tied to the robbery. So technically, the DOJ did not even need Gucci Mane to publicly say anything for those federal charges to move forward. According to the case, the evidence allegedly spoke for itself. But in the eyes of the streets, everything changed. The second Gucci Mane dropped Crash Dummy on April 10, 2026. Once that song hit the internet, the conversation completely shifted. Just 2 days after Pooh Shiesty was denied bond and only 10 days after the arrest, Gucci linked up with his longtime producer Zaytoven and released a diss track that many people felt sounded less like music and more like a detailed witness statement. On the record, Gucci rapped about thinking he was walking into a business meeting before realizing it was allegedly a setup. He talked about the tension inside the room building up. He mentioned getting greeted by people who were supposedly plotting against him the entire time. He even referenced Pooh Shiesty's father with the line implying, "You learned it from your daddy, so I guess it's hereditary." Then he doubled down by saying Pooh Shiesty was still signed to him after everything that allegedly happened. Once that record dropped, even people who originally defended Gucci started switching sides publicly. DJ Akademiks went live and told viewers to forget his earlier takes because, in his words, Crash Dummy sounded like the hardest witness statement out right now. He even joked that it felt like Charleston White had leveled up his snitching game. Another commentator, Whack100, compared the song to Confessions by Usher because of how detailed it was. And honestly, that comparison stuck with people because the record really did sound like a first-person retelling of the alleged incident while Pooh Shiesty sat in federal custody unable to defend himself publicly. Uncle Murda spoke on it too, saying you cannot spend 20+ years presenting yourself as a street guy and suddenly sound like a civilian once real pressure shows up. He argued that Gucci influenced generations of artists to embrace street culture under the 2017 banner. But once things got serious, Gucci allegedly ran to law enforcement and then turned around and detailed the entire situation on a song. Other online personalities took things even further, and the reactions showed just how heated the culture had become over this situation. Meanwhile, Pooh Shiesty's attorney Bradford Cohen pushed back hard against the case. He described it as a he said situation and pointed out that investigators still allegedly did not have the contract Gucci Mane was supposedly forced to sign. He also questioned why it took federal authorities nearly 3 months to make arrests if the evidence was truly airtight from day one. But by that point, Crash Dummy had already shaped public opinion. The top comment under the song on YouTube reportedly called it the hardest witness statement out right now. In the court of public opinion, especially online, a lot of people had already made up their minds about Gucci Mane. Then, right in the middle of all this chaos, April 2026 arrived, and Foogiano walked out of prison after doing 5 years. Think about that timing. He went into prison when Gucci Mane was still viewed almost universally as a respected trap legend. He came home to an internet where his own label boss was getting called a rat across social media. No Jumper was one of the first platforms to post Foogiano after his release. The photo showed him smiling grills out finally free after years behind bars. Fans flooded the comments asking for new music and celebrating his return. But music clearly was not Foogiano's first priority once he got home. Within days of his release, messages allegedly connected to people around his camp started surfacing online. According to screenshots shared by YouTube commentator C. Nash, on April 22nd, Foogiano's side was already making one thing crystal clear: he was not rocking with Gucci Mane anymore. The messages directly referenced Gucci's Crash Dummy record and claimed Foogiano viewed the song as snitching. According to those conversations, he had apparently been watching the entire situation unfold from inside prison and did not respect how Gucci handled it. But it went deeper than just the Pooh Shiesty situation. Reports from those same exchanges suggested Foogiano also felt abandoned while serving his sentence. Allegedly, he believed Gucci Mane did not financially support him the way a label boss should support an artist locked up in the system. And honestly, think about how personal that feels. You are sitting in federal prison for 5 years. Your career is frozen. The man who signed you, the same rapper you grew up admiring, is outside, moving on with life while you are stuck inside waiting for calls, support, or any sign that you still matter. That kind of disappointment hits differently when you are locked up. Then imagine coming home and seeing that same label boss accused by the culture of helping build a federal kidnapping case against your own label mate, Pooh Shiesty. The same artist you had likely been hearing about while inside. The same rapper whose comeback record FTD had everybody talking. The same person allegedly trying to escape a contract situation he no longer wanted. So what did Foogiano do? He made his stance public immediately. He changed his Instagram profile picture to Pooh Shiesty's federal mugshot. Not a random picture, not a subtle message. Specifically, the mugshot tied to the kidnapping case. And he did it while Gucci Mane was technically still his label boss. Then Foogiano reposted a message from Instagram user Choparu that basically said they were doing their time without taking another man away from his family and that they did not respect rat behavior at all. Foogiano added a black heart emoji along with a caption about standing on business even after the grave. Nothing about the message felt coded. It was direct. Foogiano had not even been home a full week before making it clear where he stood. Gucci Mane on one side, Pooh Shiesty on the other, and Foogiano publicly chose a side. Freddie Gibbs mocked the Crash Dummy track online. Uncle Murda kept clowning Gucci. Akademiks reversed his stance completely. And now Gucci's own artist, the same artist he kept signed while dropping the rest of his roster, was publicly using Pooh Shiesty's mugshot as his profile photo. The irony in all of this almost feels unreal. Back in October 2024, Gucci Mane kept only 2 artists on his label roster, Foogiano and Pooh Shiesty. Those were the 2 he chose not to cut loose. And somehow, both eventually ended up wanting absolutely nothing to do with him. Now, let me zoom out for a second, because this story is bigger than just Foogiano, bigger than Pooh Shiesty, and honestly, bigger than Gucci Mane's reputation online. This situation is really about what happens when business and street politics become impossible to separate. Gucci Mane built his entire legacy on authenticity. He was never seen as somebody pretending to come from that life. He really lived it. He served federal prison time in 2014, came home sober, more disciplined, and rebuilt himself into a businessman. For years, people respected that transformation. But here's the uncomfortable tension inside this entire situation. What happens when somebody who is rebranded as a CEO and legitimate businessman suddenly gets confronted by the exact same street culture that built his reputation in the first place? According to the DOJ, Gucci cooperated with investigators after the alleged Dallas incident. Then he released a song describing the situation publicly, while his artist sat in federal custody fighting life-changing charges. The streets looked at that and immediately called it snitching. Whether it technically fits the legal definition of cooperation honestly does not even matter to a lot of people anymore. What matters is perception. What matters is what the culture believes it represents about Gucci Mane in 2026, and what it says about the current state of 1017 records. Because the same street code Gucci spent years rapping about, the same energy that attracted artists like Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano to his label, those are now the exact same standards people are using to judge him. And according to many fans online, he failed that test. Pooh Shiesty is facing possible life in prison. His father is dealing with federal charges. Big 30 is locked up too. Meanwhile, Gucci Mane is dropping records over Beethoven beats, talking about how it all allegedly went down. Now here's something important about Foogiano, specifically because his reaction gets overlooked a lot. This man quietly did 5 years. He was not constantly online stirring up drama from prison. One of his last prison posts around Christmas 2024 was simply showing love to his people and saying 2025 would be his year. That sounds like somebody focused on surviving and making it home. Then, he gets released, and immediately makes his position known. Not through violence, not through reckless behavior, just through social media reposts and people around him speaking publicly. That is a certain kind of loyalty being shown. Foogiano really had nothing to gain by publicly distancing himself from Gucci. He had just gotten home. No fresh album, no major leverage, yet he still chose to stand on what he believed in. And honestly, that may be why this story feels so heavy to a lot of people. Foogiano is somebody who already experienced the system twice. If anybody had a reason to stay quiet and just focus on making money, it was him. But instead, he publicly sided with Pooh Shiesty, reposted anti-snitching messages during his first week home, and made it clear he did not respect how Gucci handled things. That tells people a lot about what he allegedly saw, heard, and felt during those 5 years behind bars. Real recognize real, and right now, a huge part of the culture no longer recognizes Gucci Mane the same way. The biggest question now is what happens to 1,017 records moving forward. Gucci Mane publicly held onto 2 artists, Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano. One is now in federal prison facing life. The other just came home and immediately started publicly backing his incarcerated label mate instead of his own boss. At this point, Gucci's relationships with both artists appear either badly damaged or completely broken. The same label that helped shape modern Atlanta trap music suddenly looks unstable. Pooh Shiesty's legal team is still fighting the charges. They continue pointing toward the missing alleged contract and questioning why federal authorities waited months before making arrests. Bradford Cohen is clearly preparing a serious defense, and legally speaking, nothing has been decided yet. But federal kidnapping charges the evidence prosecutors claim to have, plus the fact that Pooh Shiesty was allegedly violating home confinement rules by being in Dallas, all of that makes this a difficult fight ahead. As for Foogiano, he is finally free again. He has music to make and a career to rebuild, but he also has major choices in front of him. Does he stay signed to 1017 while publicly distancing himself from Gucci Mane? Does he eventually try to get released from his contract too? Or does this entire situation become even messier than it already is? The culture is watching every move closely. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do y'all think Gucci Mane crossed the line by cooperating with investigators and then dropping Crash Dummy? Or do you think he was simply protecting himself after allegedly being set up? And what about Foogiano? Is standing on his principles going to help his image? Or hurt his career long term? Y'all already know we are keeping up with every twist in this story. The second anything changes in Pooh Shiesty's case, the second Foogiano makes another move, or the second Gucci responds, again, we are breaking it all down right here. Subscribe if you have not already hit that notification bell, and for the real ones who stayed locked in until the end, y'all already know. Real, recognize real. Reportedly said there were no conditions that would